Hello, everyone. It's the Great Canadian Guy here. I'm also known as Austin Keddy to my friends and family. Today in Canada, we're celebrating Bell Let's Talk Day. It's a day to raise mental health awareness and create mental health initiatives in order for people to not suffer in silence anymore. Personally, I believe the majority of Canadians suffer from some form of mental illness or another, and they suffer in silence, meaning that they suffer, but they don't want to say anything to anybody out of fear of being ridiculed, out of fear of being picked on, out of fear of just being alienated from people just for having these issues. And what I would like to do with this video is say my story in hopes that other people can be aware and self-aware of being able to find the warning signs before things get too bad and it's too late to save yourself. Personally, I was diagnosed at 14 with severe depression, and I was diagnosed at 25 with post-traumatic stress disorder, in which both I still suffer to today. I see a psychologist, and I make sure that I tell him everything I can, because that's just a place for me to be able to voice myself, where they kind of understand, where he kind of understands where I'm coming from. And he offers a whole bunch of variety of tricks and a variety of self-awareness projects in order for you to be able to make yourself more self-aware. I personally, I am a survivor of 3 suicide attempts. The first suicide attempt was trying to take myself out with a loaded gun, only to pull the trigger and the gun jammed. The second one, I tried to drink myself to sleep. And the third one, I tried to kill myself in a car accident while I was drunk. Now, I'm not advocating whatsoever for people to be violent when it comes to their mental illness, because I know some mental illnesses can create violence, and it can be violent. And I just want people to know that most of the time it's just because something is triggered. It could be something really small, or it can be something extremely large and a bigger picture thing. It's a little bit hard for me to be able to kind of talk about this stuff, because I always had this fear and this stigma, but I decided, screw it. I want to get people out. I want people to know my story. You know, I want people to be more aware. I want to make people aware that there's a better way around life. And it's not always gloomy and doomy. You know, if you have people there to support you, use them. If you don't have anybody to support you, please find somebody to support you. And there are people out there to support you. There is a lot more people out there that love you than you know. It's just a matter of trying to find them out. Now, let's get on to my story and how I've dealt and how I've coped with my mental illness over the course of the last 16 plus years. So when I was a child, my parents divorced when I was fairly young. They both remarried a couple of years after they had ended up divorced. And I'm very glad that I was put into a 50-50 split household, where I was able to see my dad and I was able to see my mom equally and learn from both parents on what to do and what not to do. Now, my father had a different parenting style than my mom, and over time it didn't really clash, but it was really a big distraction for me in a sense. I didn't really pay attention in school. You know, I didn't really do my homework. I was a C plus average student. And at times I literally didn't want to be a part of the families. I just wanted to go on my own. You know, I just wanted my own family. You know, where a mom and my dad, my brother were all together at the dinner table, and it was just us four. But you know, over time I realized that that wasn't going to happen again. Now, I have to say, in recent years, we have gotten together. You know, my mom, my dad's girlfriend, for Thanksgiving, and we have. It's all cordial now. They've always been cordial, and I'm glad that they've always been cordial. It relieved a little bit of the stress on me, them being as cordial as they were, because I know other families never got that opportunity, and more people like myself who suffered don't get that opportunity, and they live with a single mother or a single father, and they don't get to see their mother, their other mother, or their other father. You know, it's there are families out there that are like that, and it can be extremely stressful. But that was kind of the start for me when it came to my mental health issues. I was very volatile. I have ADHD as well, so it's very hard for me to be able to stay focused, and my mind can really start to run on things when when it's out of order. And I really believe that we really have to take into effect how we feel at certain times and certain situations. We can either be explosive and volatile, or we can be humble and calm. And unfortunately, as a teenager, I was extremely explosive and volatile. I mean, I want to say right now, if my parents are going to watch this, I'm really sorry of the antics that I provided as a child. You know, I wasn't easy to deal with, and it's okay. I mean, I understand now. I'm much more older. I'm much wiser now. I understand the whole premise of why it happened, why they ended up divorced, and I'm understanding. I wasn't understanding for 20 some years, but now I am. And it's the experiences that you have to go through in life that alter your brain in certain ways where you think not like everyone else, where you believe your mind is a little bit oury. It's not always there, but you don't want to talk to anybody about it without being ridiculed. I felt like that for the better part of my teenage years and the better part of my 20s, which led me to drive myself insane. I mean, you don't try and kill yourself 3 times if you don't have insane capabilities. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm I wouldn't consider myself insane anymore. I mean, I've learned to control my emotions and the way I think towards things now. I mean, I used to be an incredibly bad alcoholic. I mean, it was brutal. It was a reason why it probably drove my suicidal tendency. And I'm just glad that after 4 years, I can say I'm dry of alcohol. And I continue on that recovery path for myself, not for my family, not for my friends, for myself. Because after all, at the end of the day, we and us personally, the individual has control over their thoughts, their manifestations, and their actions. Don't get me wrong. Today, I still suffer from suicidal thoughts, but they're extremely fleeting in comparison to my 20s when I was drinking alcohol. So in my 20s, I would 100%, drink a shit ton, feel terrible about it, and that's when I would want to kill myself. Because I would think that I'm depressed, I'm lonely, nobody's there to support me, I'm just drunk and wasted. You don't think properly. You really don't think properly. And you have to take into effect that everybody's different. I suffer different than somebody else, but it's the same illness, right? So you can't treat me like you would them or that person, kind of deal. And I firmly believe that once we get the help that we need for the mental illness that we're suffering from, it gets easier. And it gets much, much, much easier. Now, I want to go into the experiences in which allowed me to rewire my brain to understand that the images that I saw won't ever go away. I mean, I held my dying dog in her arms for her last breaths. I've seen somebody be hit by a car and killed. My father was very abusive to my mother when I was a child. Sometimes I still think about it. But I understand that alcoholism played a very large role in how I felt back then. Because today I do not have the same mentality as I did 4 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm much more wiser today. I have so much gusto for life. I mean, it's been hard for the last couple of years with COVID. I mean, I've lived alone. You know, I had to deal with the death of my dog alone for the most part. I mean, I had my mom there, thankfully. And I had some friends along the way help me along. And it's about a support group. If you have a really good support group, you're able to do anything. I'm really sorry though if everything kind of goes scattermind and scatterbrained. That's part of my ADHD. So if I flip from one subject to another, then you can understand that that's part of ADHD. And it's really hard to be self-aware of something like that when you're ADHD because you try and focus on one thing and then your mind wants you to focus on another thing. And if this gets really confusing, then that's understandable because I mean my mind is somewhat confusing. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about how I cope with my mental illness and how I cope with my post-traumatic stress and severe depression. My severe depression, I don't take any pharmaceuticals. I refuse to, in all honesty. I really believe that we have to rewire and rework our brains. And we have to understand that our brain is extremely malleable. What we've seen in the past can be dealt with. And it doesn't have to be extremely numbing. It doesn't have to be extremely anxiety ridden. Um, it doesn't have to make you feel like you're completely out of your mind and you're losing yourself. You don't have to worry if you have a really good support group that's there to help you out along the way. They help you find what triggers you. They help you find why you manifest what you do. And they help you understand why you try the actions or why you led to the actions of what you did. And I still don't have a word or I don't have a way to describe why I did it. I just felt brutal. I felt useless. I felt alienated. I felt like I was never heard. I felt like nobody, like I didn't matter to anybody's life. You know, despite my family 100% wanting me and them being the biggest matter in my life. I mean, in the end, family is all we really get. Your friends come and go. Your family is permanent, but you yourself, you're the person that needs to go through this life. I mean, parents will eventually leave this place. It's the natural cycle of life. And when we lose people in our lives, it's hard. It's depressing. It's very unknown. I firmly believe in an afterlife. I firmly believe I'm going to see all the people that I've known at one point or another in the afterlife. And when people go, you go into the dark energy of matter. You know? There's the antimatter and the matter. I firmly believe that death could be possibly from the antimatter. The invisible forces around us. And, well, it happens to every single one of us. And it's only a matter of when. Our time here isn't guaranteed. It never is. And it's about learning to get up every day and figuring out what I need or what you need to do in order to make your day the best that it can possibly be, while dealing with all the shit that you can possibly deal with. It's never easy dealing with mental illness. Never. It's never going to be easy. And it's always a long road away. It's always a long road ahead. There's no short little backtracks around it. The more you backtrack, the less you learn. You know? The more you take the shortcuts, the less you learn. Sometimes you have to go through the crap, the mud, the shit flying at you sometimes. And sometimes you just have to deal with it. But it's about learning how to deal with it that matters. It's about coping and learning different coping mechanisms rather than picking up the bottle of alcohol and drowning your thoughts, you know? It doesn't work. It won't ever work. Your alcoholism and your alcohol will just make things worse. It always does. It always will. It never makes anybody's situation better. I've never seen it makes anybody's situation better. I know some people that can drink alcohol and moderate, but I know some people that can drink alcohol and pollute themselves to the point where you think that they would die of alcohol poisoning, but they don't. And it's like, you have problems. You refuse to know that you have a problem, but you blame everybody else around you for your problem. And that's wrong. You can't blame anybody else but yourself for your own problems. It's unfortunate to look at it that way, but sometimes we put ourselves into our own problems. Sometimes we put ourselves into a situation where we can't get out of. I mean, I put myself into a situation I may never have come out of. I mean, don't put a loaded gun to your mouth and want to pull a trigger if you're not out of your mind, in all honesty. If you didn't get to that point, there's certain steps you have to do in order to get to that point. You know, there's the thought. Oh my gosh, I'm having this thought that I want to kill myself. Now, when that thought manifests itself, so the manifestation stage is it becomes more and more prominent, and it loops in your mind, and it loops and it loops and it loops to the point where it becomes a contemplation phase. So you're looking at the ways in order to take your life. And it can be this way, that way, which way would be the quickest, which way would be the less severe for the family to deal with. Like, that's when you get to the contemplation phase of doing that. That's where it gets scary, because the next stage is action. And that's where you actually take action. And some of us, unfortunately, do not make it out the other side. I'm extremely, I don't want to consider myself lucky. I firmly believe that after 3 attempts like that, divine intervention is the only answer as to why I'm here. But the thing about it is, sometimes you look at surviving the attempt as, what am I going to do next? I never expected to survive 3 suicide attempts. So after that, what am I going to do with life? You know, how do you approach life when you just try to take yourself out of the picture and you're still here? You have no plans in order to go forward in life. You were supposed to stop there. And I look back on it now, and I'm really sorry to have put some of these people through the stress that I did. I'm sorry to my family to have put them through that, because, in all honesty, I'm so glad I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to my family for having put you through that. But I'm so much better today. I am so much better and straight minded today than I was back then. And it's because I got rid of the substance that was driving me to that point. Like I said, I still get suicidal thoughts today, but they're extremely fleeting in comparison to when I was in my 20s, when I was an alcoholic. Anybody out there who's suffering, there is a better path in life that you can take. You have to understand the underlying causes as to why it's happening, as to why you're feeling the way you are, and why you're contemplating certain things. You have to understand, I have to understand, that we all suffer differently. So, my coping mechanism of making music, writing in novels, uh, doing research on certain subjects, every subject. I mean, there's a library right there. It's got 100 books or so, and it's got every single subject you can possibly think of. And it's just about trying to occupy your mind with more positivity. And in today's day and age, it can really be hard to be positive. It can be hard to be negative, but at the same time, it's about how we feel. I mean, COVID has thrown our lives into an entire spiral. From I see people ODing, I I see people dying of overdoses. I mean, I see people dying of suicides. You know, mental illness is running rampant in Canada right now because of COVID. And I really just want people to be aware that, you know, there's better way. There's a better way to live, that it's okay to feel like this. You don't have to feel alienated about the way you feel, because a lot of people probably feel like you do. I know a lot of people feel like I do. You know, soldiers who have gone to Afghanistan or any kind of war come back with post traumatic stress disorder. As much as they've seen something that they will never forget, I'm in the same boat, just in a different scenario. I will never forget what I see. And it's unfortunate that some of these people just don't get the help that they deserve. And I think this is what Bell Let's Talk Day is all about, is getting people the help and awareness that they deserve in order to be able to live a more prosperous life. Yeah, this is almost a half an hour video, but it really has to understand, people have to really understand that in me telling you my story and where I've come from and how far I've come from then, from when I literally put the gun to my mouth and pulled the trigger until now, you know, like it it's fascinating. It's mind-blowing how much of a better life I have. You know, I have more money in the bank. I'm healthy. My weight has not moved in almost 4 years. My mentality around things, it's iffy from time to time. I mean, it's COVID time. We can all get loopy. But overall, I feel fine. I feel great. I may not look it, but I feel okay. I'm good. I don't have to worry about wanting to take myself out because it's not going to happen. I've learned my triggers. I learned what allows me to manifest, what the contemplation aspect of it happens. Like when you've gone through the steps multiple times and come out the other side, you understand what triggers you. You understand why you feel the way you do. And you just want to help other people out. I just personally want to help other people out in that situation because I know that sometimes all it takes is a listening ear. Really. So sometimes that's as simple as it is just to listen to your significant other, your friend, your son, your daughter, your mom, your dad, your aunt, your grandparents. Like, all it takes is just a good 10-minute sit down just to hear them out, and their day will be that much better. So I'm going to leave it at that because I know this has been a very long-winded video for people to have comprehended. And I'm just hoping that my story can allow others to know that it's okay, that you don't have to suffer in silence, that there are ways that you can get help, that there is help out there, and there's ways that you can live a better life. So I'll let you go on a little bit of a quote that I don't just kind of want to make up on the spot. So if you feel like you're down, if you feel like you're out, that's the time when you need to talk to someone. Because that talk could save your life. It could be the matter of life or death for you. And I hope to God, I hope to whatever higher power or entity that you have in your life, that you can manifest that in order to be able to live a more prosperous life. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Share, please. I want to get everything. Like, share, do whatever you want with this video. I want comment. I would like as much awareness as probable to come out of this for people. So this is the Great Canadian Guy signing off, and I will see you again. Ta-ta for now.